Let's talk about our 10th question. Let's talk about the presidential qualifications.
Yes.
You are applying to be the President of the Republic of the Philippines. It's a very complex, gargantuan job. Inilista ko lamang ang ilan sa mga trabaho ng Presidente. Head of Government, Chief Architect of Foreign Policy, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, signs budgets, manages finance, appoints justices, recommended by the Judicial and Bar Council, confers National Artist Awards, manages disasters and pandemics, fights drug wars, head of her political party, has power over aliens, has power of eminent domain, practices general supervision over local governments, and pardons convicts. That's how complex, napakalawak, napakalaki, how daunting ang trabaho ng isang presidente. Samantala, sa ating saligang batas, Article 7, Section 2 of the 1987 Constitution, ang qualifications para maging isang presidente ay mga sumusunod. Number 1, natural-born Filipino. Number 2, a registered voter. Must be able to read and write. Number 4, 40 years of age at the day of the election. And number 5, must have resided in the Philippines 10 years before the election is held. Right now, as we talk, Senator Bong Bong, napapanahon na ba para amyendahan ang provision na ito ng saligang batas? Oo, hindi, bakit?
Dahil, palagay ko hindi. Dahil the concept behind the way the Constitution has approached the qualifications for President is to come from the point na sinasabi, anyone should be allowed to be President. Dahil mahirap, hindi nakapag-graduate, pero marunong naman, dapat pwede, kung talagang kaya, pwede siyang maging Pangulo. Hindi kailangan ng mga maging mayaman, hindi kailangan maging sikat, all of these things. And that's the idea behind that. But we also have to recognize that I agree, everyone should be allowed to be president. But not everyone can be a good president. So we have to pick, the fix, if you want to call it that, for that, is not to amend the Constitution and to amend the qualifications for president. It is to change the political system in terms of our choice of candidates. Dahil yung multi-party system, kahit na lang sino, pwedeng magtayo ng partido basta may pera siya. At tatakbo, maging presidente, wala namang hindi talaga marunong, hindi namang qualified, walang magawa. Dati, nung two-party system tayo, we had the liberal and the nationalista. Within the parties, everybody wants to be president. Lahat yan gusto mag-senador, mag-governor, mag-mayor. Pero sa loob ng partido mismo, ay namimili na. Tinitingnan sino bang pinakamagaling talaga dito, sinong ilalaban natin, sino imamanok natin na pwedeng senador. So pagpili ng isang partido, sasabihin nila, eto mga kandidato namin, ang parang mong sinasabi, eto na yung pinakamagaling talaga sa amin. Ngayon, dun sa kabilang partido, ganun din ang ginagawa. Kaya kung sino man, puro magagaling ang mga kandidato dahil pinagsabong na yan sa loob ng partido. So lumabas ang pinakamagagaling, ang pinakamekaya, kahit sinong mahalal, marunong. And that, I think, is the way we can, the way that we can. I was a great proponent of the multi-party system because of my experience studying abroad, where I see that it has worked. But it has not really been a successful experiment.
So you are for the two-party system in the Philippines?
I think because we lack the political maturity yet in the Philippines to understand that ideology must play a part in the multi-party system.
Yan po ang ibig sabihin nyo na ayusin natin ang ating political system by going back to the two-party system.
I think that
para nasala na yung mga kandidato na parang Great Britain, for example. There's a quote that says, every prime minister, there is no amateur who becomes a prime minister because you have to be an MP.
Yes.
You have to be an MP to be nominated to be prime minister. You wanted to say something, Senator?
Well, the difference between that and the two-party system is that their party stands for something. When you talk about the Conservative Party, they're conservatives. They talk about the liberal, they're liberal in their
Democrats
in
and the
thinking.
Republicans, may stand sa taxes at saka sa abortion.
The Green Party in Germany started off as an environmental party for environmental issues. All of these things that we haven't yet learned to adopt. And that's why I think we should start thinking about going back to the old simpler system, that we can always guarantee that whoever is elected, I'm not talking only about the president, but whoever is elected in any position, all the way down to mayors and to councilors down at the lowest level, ay lahat yan may pinagdaanan na, may kakayahan.
And you can effect changes without having to amend the Constitution. Am I right? I'm not very familiar with this.
No,
Kasi, no, I mean, but you can have rules, no? I mean, can you add? I mean, I don't know how to do it. But like Myanmar, for example, peculiarities ito eh. Hindi ka na pwede magpresidente pag ang iyong asawa ay foreigner because of the Aung San Suu Kyi.
That's right.
And then Turkey, I think is higher education is required. Indonesia ay high school graduate. France requires a bank account.
A bank account. Yeah.
So, titingnan mo ito bilang presidente.
But you're already discounting a large part of the population. Now, if like Turkey, you say you need to have a college, degree, then are you sure that every single citizen has access to a college education? If that's so, baka pwede yun. But we cannot guarantee that. You are, again, as I said, excluding immediately with no reason except their educational attainment, a large part of the population. Malay mo, yung isa dun genius na napakagaling na aayusin lahat ng
That one and many other requirements. Ang dami nilang mga requirements. The constitutional provision on presidential qualifications. You are applying to be the President of the Republic of the Philippines. It's a complex, gargantuan job. Napakalaki ng trabaho. Why? Because a president is the head of government. You are the chief architect of foreign policy. You're commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Philippines. You sign budgets, manage finance. You appoint justices recommended by the Judicial and Bar Council. You confer the National Artist Award. Manage disasters, pandemic, fights, drug war, head of your political party, has power over aliens, has power of eminent domain, practices general supervision over local governments, and pardon convicts, among others. Sinabi ko lamang po ito dahil napaka-complex ng trabaho bilang isang presidente. Samantala, ang ating saligang batas, Article 7, Section 2 of the 1987 Constitution, ay nagsasaad na ang qualifications para maging isang presidente ay ang mga sumusunod. Number 1, natural-born Filipino, registered voter, must be able to read and write, 40 years of age, on the day of the election, must have resided in the Philippines 10 years before the election. Ang aking tanong, VP Leni, napapanahon na ba para amyendahan ang probisyon na ito sa saligang batas? Oo, hindi, at bakit?
Ako po hindi. Actually, it's a very contentious provision. Marami tayong mga kilala na nagsasabi, bakit naman ganyan ka-minimum yung requirements ng pagpapangulo? Pero ako kasi, binasa ko. Binasa ko yung mga diskusyon, yung mga debate nung framers ng 1987 Constitution. And yung pinakadahilan kung bakit ganito minimal yung qualifications na binibigay. Kasi gustong bigyan ng pagkakataon kahit yung hindi... Alam mo, dito kasi sa Pilipinas, ang iba hindi natatapos sa pag-aral dahil walang opportunity. So ayaw nating isara yung daan para sa mga gaya nila. So ito, while merong mga iba't ibang pagtingin tungkol dito, yung sa akin, naiintindihan ko kung bakit ganon yung mga requirements na nilagay. Na totoo, we would have wished na ang Pangulo is better prepared. Pero sa atin kasi parang we put a lot of premium on not closing the doors on people who have not been given the opportunity to have enjoyed the same privileges that others had. So, yun yung dahilan. And ako, I agree with them. I agree with them. Pero yung sa akin lang, boy, siguro yung dapat pagtuunan natin ng pansin. Baguhin talaga yung klase ng politika na namumuo. Kasi over the years, yung klase talaga ng politika na namumuo, yun yung hindi nagbibigay ng malaking access dun sa mga wala. Dahil grabe yung patronage, dahil magastos masyado yung eleksyon. Pag ganito at ganito yung klase ng politikang namumuo, yung mga wala, hindi nabibigyan ng pagkakataon.
I hear you, VP Leni. Pero puntahan ko lamang yung sinabi ko ng premium na para makapag-participate ang marami. Because that's the spirit of the law. It's democratizing participation. Malay mo, si tatay ay potensyal na maging presidente ng
kahit
Pilipinas.
hindi nakapag-aral.
Pero may premium din tayo, VP Leni, na naalala ko to, ang diploma napakahalaga. Hindi display sa sala. Ang nanay, madalas sinasabi, nasaan na ang diploma mo?
Yun na yung pinagyayabang ng
Yun,
mga magulang.
oo, napakahalaga sa atin yun. Dahil kung yung premium ang pag-uusapan natin, bakit yung premium na yun wala doon sa mga kwalifikasyon? Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago raised that point, no? The late good senator. At sinabi niya, ang police officer nga hinahanapan na dapat graduate ka. Presidente pa kaya ng Pilipinas? Reason why I have to enumerate the specific jobs
Ako
of a president.
naiintindihan kita, Boy. Pero alam mo, iba-iba kasi yung dahilan kung bakit hindi nakapagtapos. Kung hindi ka nakapagtapos, despite the many opportunities given to you, kasalanan mo na
Pero
yun.
hindi naman natin kasi pwedeng...
Pero, yun na
diba?
nga. Kaya hindi mo, dahil
natin
hindi
pwedeng
mo pwedeng
i-qualify yun.
i-delineate, hindi mo pwedeng alisan ng pagkakataon yung mga hindi nakapagtapos dahil walang-wala.
It's not in the constitution of Turkey, for example. Pero meron silang batas ngayon na nagsasabing dapat may higher education. Pero we are aware, halimbawa, na sa Great Britain, kailangan membro ka ng parliament, MP ka, bago ka maging prime minister. Meron namang mga bansa, like France, ang isa sa mga requirements, may bank account ka. So, sinasabi ko lamang ito, VP, dahil as a country's president, you can initiate a move na para man amyendahan, maaari. I'm not saying that you should do it. Para lamang, dahil napaka-complex, napakahirap na ng buhay. 1987 is very different from 2001.
Totoo. Pero sa akin, Boy, para sa akin, siguro down the road, pwede yung pag-usapan. Pero sa akin kasi, yung accessibility na makapag-participate, napakahalaga nun sa akin. Kahit wala kang pera, kahit hindi ka nakapagtapos, basta yung reason mo naman dahil sa kawalan.
But isn't that so ideal?
Ako, we can always dream for better things eh. Ako para sa akin, ang mga kailangan natin ngayong i-legislate, paano ba natin mapapabuti yung ating political system? Such that yung political system natin, yung nagpo-produce ng mga kandidato na karapat-dapat.
Paano?
Ang daming kailangan gawin. Ang daming kailangan
Saan ka
gawin.
mag-uumpisa?
Alam mo, marami ng panukalang batas na final sa Congress over the years. Kahit nung nasa 16th Congress ako, na iba-iba yung mga pananaw kung paano siya aayusin. Pero ako, it's high time that we assemble all those who are proposing